Speak up, speak out. Let's talk about it. Welcome to the show where you can show your love, no doubt about it. Where self-love and self-worth are the topics of the day. Right here on the Just Blah Show, where love is the only way. And here are your hosts, Barb and Faye.
Hi, this is Faye and
This is Barb.
And we're here today to talk about gratitude. And we're going to just start off with Barb, just giving a brief description of what gratitude is. And take it away, Barb.
Well, gratitude, as we all know, is counting our blessings and our lessons. And really why gratitude is so important to me, it was such a healing practice for me to get out of my victim story and to really start taking ownership of my responsibility in my life.
And I know that you are getting ready to start is it a 6-week series on gratitude here in Phoenix, doing, is it an hour and a half workshop?
It's a once a week for 6 weeks, like you said, a gratitude and grace group where we all come together and we discuss the practice of gratitude and grace and how grace falls into gratitude, which opens the gateway to other virtues like compassion and empathy, and once again taking responsibility for yourself. It's I can't wait. I'm excited to do this.
Well, that's awesome. And then I wanted to find out how does gratitude actually show up? I mean, I don't know if everyone really understands what gratitude really is in the sense of, it's not happy slappy all the time.
No, it's
kind
not.
of gratitude. I know there's different levels of gratitude. Is that correct? I don't know if levels is the right word.
Yeah, I don't know if levels is maybe a deeper sense of ownership of gratitude. And what that means to me is that when we step into gratitude, it's easy to be grateful, like when we have our baby or something beautiful happen, it's easy to be grateful in that and to see the grace in that. Where the practice really comes in, that is when we're hit with our, challenges in life, and instead of being the victim in the story, it's more about focusing on what am I going to learn in this? What am I learning about myself? Like why is this true? Like today is a perfect example. So I was reading an email from a group that I belong to, and I was triggered by some of the words that were being used. Nothing wrong with the words, it's my attachment to the meaning. Instead of attacking back and justifying and proving to them why maybe those words shouldn't be used to describe the experience that was going on with the dynamics of this group, I just stopped and said, oh, wow, I'm really feeling this, and it's making me think, judge these people that are expressing, beautifully how they feel about this experience between the group, and why am I being triggered by this? And I really had to sit down and process. So that was my reply. It's like, oh, I'm getting triggered by certain words. I need to go look at this because this is such a blessing to look at myself. How grateful am I that I'm so happy this happened, because I didn't even know that was in there until this experience, showed up. And then I realized, I'm like, wow, I have some really strong attachments to these words. And then I was able to process through, and I called 2 people that I feel very close to that can listen. And we just walked through my belief system and really where it stemmed from. And it gave me such clarity that I was able to soften my definition of my story and judgment around those words. And then I'm so grateful, because now it's like it gave me a bigger expansion of grace in my life and understanding.
Okay, and so is that kind of like you experienced what I'll call a misalignment?
Yeah.
So it didn't feel right?
Yeah.
And you were aware enough to be able to identify that?
Yeah, my belief.
And it's not going to all be sunshine and lollipops, I get that. No. So what you're looking for is, I guess in the practice of grace and gratitude, is probably just going to, what gives you relief, what gives you that, just so you can go to the next level, no matter what level. And I'm sorry, I use the word
that's
level.
Okay, it's responsibility.
Being able to go, well, if I'm if I'm feeling sad, I'm certainly not going to be able to go from A to Z.
No.
The next step would be, well, if I feel sad, what can I practice of gratitude, and find the grace and gratitude in that moment to help you bring you to that next step of what is above this sadness. It would be, I guess,
the recognition of the sadness.
recognition, and then
And
just working your
ownership
way
of it, yeah.
up, and then so that's why the practice of gratitude is so important. That way you don't stay down in the say the sadness zone or
Yeah,
whatever
in the story.
in the story.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
holds us down. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. And what are some ways people can consciously practice gratitude? I know that besides saying all that thank you and gratitude that way, but I mean consciously practice.
Mindfully practice.
Yeah.
Well, before I answer that, I wanted to just make really clear, because we're talking about feelings and part of this.
Yeah.
And so gratitude isn't a practice of stuffing it down or ignoring it, like you use the word sadness.
Yes.
Or the feeling expression of sadness. And you can have gratitude in what we call the negative feelings, but they're really such gifts for us to look at ourselves and realize what are we believing that triggers that emotion to create that sadness, because it's attached to probably a memory in the background from your childhood or a significant relationship in the past that isn't totally healed yet. And so we tend to blanket with gratitude. Gratitude is not a denial of what's going on. It's the embracing of what's going on with discernment, meaning taking responsibility. It's like, wow, I'm really feeling sad right now, and my choices are A, B, C, and D, right? So we're going to talk about that here in a moment. And so it's
So it's just
really...
being consciously aware
Yeah.
of where, just own where you're at and
Yeah,
and
and not
just own
blame.
it and not
And-
blame yourself or others,
yeah.
but just be able to sit in it
Uh-huh.
and being human, you need to experience it.
Yeah.
But
And it's
you don't
okay.
want to stay there. It's great to be human. Everybody's
Yeah.
human, so you need to have. There's a range of emotions.
Sure, and
Yeah.
the cool thing about gratitude, or the practice of gratitude, or experiencing feelings, and the thing is, it's not about fixing it with gratitude, because that's fixing or proving to yourself that you can do it. So if you're in sadness and you're just like, you know what, I don't want to look at this right now, I just want to be sad. But the tip that I'll give that was given to me was, when you have an experience that's like, say, sadness, and like, you know me well, like when I get sad, I'll just lay in my bed, but I consciously choose. I was like, I'm going to sit in this sadness and just feel it in my body. I'm going to cry, and I'm going to do all that, and I'm going to do it in 3 hours, and I'm going to tell my big victim story, because we need to release it, and we need to be seen in it. So I call people that I trust, and we can talk about that on another call or show, when we talk about how do you do this, and it helps me to be seen, and it actually gives me a broader perception, but I allow myself to feel it, because that way I'm not afraid of it when it shows up and try to stuff it down. So with that being said, some of the tools, I mean, the obvious ones are what, like, yes, gratitude journaling.
Yeah,
and
gratitude
everybody
journaling
talks about
sounds
it, but it's
But
so,
not everybody's a writer, though. That's the thing.
that's the
Yeah.
thing. But the power in writing, the reason why we do it's suggested so much, because it's one thing to have speak it, like we're talking about it, but when we write, it actually slows our brain down, and it's actually we write with intention. You can free flow write, but you have to put the words on the paper, right? And so your brain actually slows down, and so you're actually putting that expression into the world through your journaling, and so it's much more impactful when we write it down. And then if you want to even make it more impactful, after you write your journal, however you want to write it for gratitude, you read it out loud to yourself, because your brain loves you and it loves to hear your voice, and everything you give it, it listens to. So why not be mindful? It's like, instead of giving yourself a story of victimness and how the world's out to get you, why don't you give yourself a story of grace and gratitude, lessons and blessings, and practicing whatever you feel like you want to step into. Like for me, it's letting go and not be like non-attachment versus detachment, and doing it in a loving way.
That's so. What other things besides writing could someone actively do to build their awareness of grace and gratitude in their personal lives?
Well, this might sound odd, but how about receiving gratitude? Because we're all really good at giving compliments and all that, but if and I still do this sometimes, not as much, but if somebody gave me a compliment, it's like, wow, you really know what you're talking about, let's say that, I would automatically minimize it and say, oh no, somebody told me that, or it's like, yeah, it's not a big deal. So on a subconscious level, that person is feeling, oh, she doesn't want that. And it makes that illusion of separation, and I'm minimizing myself for whatever reason. I haven't, dug too deep into that, but the gift of receiving. So when somebody says to me something like, wow, you're so beautiful, and you don't want to feel fake in saying thank you. So I usually will say, thank you for seeing me that way, because their truth about me is their truth. That doesn't mean I have to own it, but that type of reply honors both of our spaces, and I don't have to explain to them why I don't think I'm beautiful, which I think I'm beautiful, but but you know what I mean? I don't have to explain to them why, or minimize it, or shove it off. And so it's easy to say, thank you for seeing me in that light or that way. It's very lovely. And I'm honoring the way they see me, and I'm learning how to receive it without making me wrong or them wrong. It just feels natural for me. I don't know if it works for everybody. For me, it opens that, I feel more connected with them, because that space between us isn't minimized by my subconscious belief system.
Okay, and then I know we're talking a lot about gratitude. Do you have any thoughts on just grace and maybe what grace is? Because it's kind of like clumped together.
It is.
But there must be something that's, obviously it's separate from gratitude, but it's always included. When people talk about gratitude, it's always grace and gratitude.
Well,
gratitude and grace.
My perception.
Yeah.
I'm not like the expert on gratitude. I just experience what I do. But my perception of grace is, in order to receive grace in your life, and which is just something that emanates from your actions, right? You have to practice with intention gratitude. You can't intentionally practice grace. Grace is the outflow of gratitude. So when we think about somebody who's like, wow, they just have a lot of grace. For me, that means they have a lot of gratitude and have a perception of life in a grateful way.
An appreciation.
And
with that, I guess what popped in my head was, does grace come with empathy then? In order to have grace, do you need to have empathy? Does that make sense? Does it tie together that way?
Well, I think all the virtues that we have that are healthy for us all tie together. Mm-hmm. Like briefly, we were talking about the Book of Joy and the 8 pillars, and if you look at that, all those virtues, the 8 pillars that they chose to speak about in that particular book, they all tie together, they all roll together, they're outflow. So why we strengthen one, say we mindfully decide to practice gratitude mindfully, all the other virtues that you have embodied with you will also strengthen with you. It may not be at the same capacity as because we have the light on gratitude, so we're more aware, it's in our awareness and focus, that also means your empathy will also move with that. And it also gives you, a space to grow and expand, because when we start growing in one area, say gratitude, the pillar of gratitude, all of a sudden you're going to start noticing the shift in all the other parts, and then you're going to have hopefully a curiosity, and you're like, ooh, what about this? And ooh, oh wow, this is really cool. I didn't realize gratitude connected with, faith, and faith connected with, harmony, and it's like, but it's all intermingled. And so when we diminish one feeling, right, negative or positive, it actually diminishes the whole, it dims the light on all of them. And so that's why we really have to be honest in our vulnerability of sharing. But also we have to use discernment to share with the people that have the capacity to do that, because it can be a huge mess if 2 people coming together are needing to be heard and listened to and seen. And that's a whole nother discussion as well. But gratitude is just, it's one of the main pillars, I believe, in the pillars of virtues.
One of the main words I just picked up there, and I know you know what I'm going to say, is the vulnerability portion. I think that that could be, I guess scary is a good word, scary for people to put themselves in that position, because I think that they need to be comfortable within their own skin to be comfortable with others, to be vulnerable. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the word you're really looking for, I mean, at least in my understanding, is because vulnerability isn't, it's only scary because we have a perception of what it means, and you alluded to it. When we trust our inner voice, our God, the universe, whatever your belief system is, then the vulnerability comes natural, and it's not scary because we're trusting what we're being prompted to be, and that doesn't mean spilling your guts out to the whole world and not being vulnerable. That is one type of vulnerability. But there's vulnerability with responsibility, meaning being responsible. You got to be discerning, and do I share, or is this something I hold close to my heart and look at? It doesn't mean you're hiding it. It's being discerning, because it is. It's the road, like you've heard this expression, the roadmap to your heart. And we don't want to hand, I personally don't want to hand the daggers to somebody to go, oh, here's my bullseye, here, go ahead and hit me, right? Because they don't have the capacity to own who they are in their story, and they don't have the practice is a good word. They're just not practicing it. So we have to be really discerning about those deeper, meaningful, vulnerable stories that really show our soul.
Yes.
I mean, that's where we're really going to see, where people show up, at least in that moment, because we all fluctuate, how to deal with it. And if you can't deal with somebody because you're tired or whatever it is, vulnerability also looks like being honest and responsible. And trust me, I mean, would you want, like, if you came to me with an issue and I'm really tired, I'm kind of, being snarky with you, and I just say, yeah, I'll listen to you. I mean, how's that going to feel to you? Because you know that I'm not in the place. You on a level, but you want to be heard so bad that you're willing to make that trade with me. So what does that do to our relationship?
Well, I would think it would chip away at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I find that vulnerability also is in stepping out and trying new things. There's different types of vulnerability.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's because you're trusting yourself, but you have to trust others to help you when you are wanting, and it's not necessarily just on a personal level, it could be professionally or whatever, because I mean, just like for me picking up a new hobby when I was 48 years old and going, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And it's turned into quite a passion for me, but it was to me a form of vulnerability.
Yeah, that is a form of vulnerability. Yeah.
And a way for me to practice that, but yet it brings, I mean, I'm very grateful, and I just couldn't imagine my life without it now.
I know, and I know some of the experiences you had, and because you were brave enough and courageous enough to say and face that, oh, what if I'm not good enough feeling, and
being judged,
and stepping through and testing that, right? You were willing to test it and practice, because you're what I usually do is like, okay, well, this is really scary for me. What's the worst possible story I can come up with? Well, I mean, obviously the worst case scenario for any story is like I die. And I'm like, am I okay with that? And I'm like, yeah, if I'm not okay with it, I don't do it, because it's like, not there yet. I don't make myself wrong for it. But most of the stuff I do is because it's not like I'm not scared, because I get scared. But I also have enough practice and experience now to know if I step through that curtain of fear, the illusion, that I realize, oh my gosh, this is so freaking amazing. And sticking with, say, a relationship or something like an experience or, whatever, that, I don't want to use the word rewards, but my life is richer because I was able to be vulnerable to take that leap. And what I've also learned, and this is what encourages me, and I'm sure you, is when I'm being vulnerable and trusting inwardly and just sharing that and people, being there, it actually creates more vulnerability. They start trusting them. It's like, well, dang, if Barb can do it, or if Faye can do it, I can do it. Because they feel like they have somebody on their side that she's going to get it, right? She understands. There's somebody that gets it, right? And doesn't mean that they have to do the same exact thing as you, but I just know in my experience, we like to watch people and we emulate people that we admire and want to be, it's like, wow, I would love to be more grateful. How would I do that?
Yeah. And I mean, I've always kind of lived, and I've learned over a lot of experience that failing is a form of success, and just by trying different things and doing different things. But it's also, very important that you are comfortable with the people that you are trusting as well. You just can't leap into a a pit and
Well,
hope there's a bottom.
Yeah. No, and
you know what I mean?
the
It's
thing
just like,
is this goes back to trusting,
Yeah,
right? Or that
yeah.
inner
that's
feeling.
a sense of vulnerability too, because
Yeah.
you're putting yourself out there. Not, well, you know, conceivably, yeah, there's a bottom, but I don't really know if there is. But I'm going to take that leap of faith.
Yeah,
and
well, there's
here I
some people
go.
who are
Yeah.
reckless and willing to
To
do
do
that.
that, yeah.
But for I think the majority of people,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah,
no.
I like to get the measure, stick out, and make sure I
Yeah,
can see
and
it.
there's
Yeah.
absolutely nothing wrong with that. We're just kind of softening, like it's like jumping off the side of a building. I remember doing that rappelling, when it was really popular.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me a good 20 minutes to
It was
talk
fun.
It was fun, but it took a good 20 minutes of pep talk from the guy that was like, "You can do it." It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like, "No, you can do it." It's like, "Shit, I'm just going to do it. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? I'm going to fall and kill
Hurt yourself,
myself,"
yeah.
right? And guess what happened when I did it? I wanted to go back up because it was so much fun.
It's a lot of fun. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's one thing I've learned, and you'll hear me say a lot, is like life is so much fun. It's like rappelling off that side of the building.
Yeah.
And once you get going, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so freeing. And not only that, it encourages me to step into what I say, the light, right? I'm going to step into my light, and I'm just going to go for it. And it actually helps me to detach from stories, meaning validation from other people, to make sure, am I doing okay? Totally fine with it. I mean, yeah, the old tapes get up. I'm not going to say I'm not human, but I can look past that and go, yeah, Barb, yeah, it's okay. Nobody really cares. It's all your story, right? And it's like, oh, that's such a silly story. Okay, jump.
Yeah, and it's easy to go there, especially when when you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing this right. I'm going to screw it up, because I'm in a group. I'm like, I'm going to screw up the whole group because I'm not doing it right, and but I know that with practice and more practice and a little bit more practice.
I love practice. It's my favorite
practice. But the expertise will come.
Yes, they do.
And I'm always, like you always say, I'm always the learner, not the teacher.
Yeah.
I mean, even if I am teaching something, I'm always learning something from that, and I've learned a lot from.
Well, they say everything
being
you teach, right, is something you need to learn.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And
or
so
not to reinforce.
reinforce, but. You never stop learning.
No.
Even if you try to, you can't stop learning.
I love learning.
Yeah.
And I love learning with intention, because it makes it fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
It goes somewhere. But anyway, is there any closing thoughts you would like to put? We're just kind of rambling now. So.
Yeah, it's okay. Closing thoughts. You can't do you wrong. And there's I believe every person has a purpose, whether they say it or not. And I just think every life has a journey, and we're all interconnected, and our energy ripples out into the world, and we create our reality. And I really highly recommend living mindfully. And if you live mindful, then you can pick what you want to show up, and you see. So I choose gratitude, because gratitude opens all the other, like vulnerability and trust and joy and acceptance and all those beautiful things that we tend to keep quiet.
Yeah.
And I like to express it outward, as you know.
Yes.
And I just absolutely love it.
Yeah.
How about you?
For me, I was just thinking, well, it's I'm one of my favorite, and I can't remember the video. We'll have to play it sometime. That one, I used to listen to it every day about the
gratitude.
The gratitude.
Today.
Yeah.
The Today one. Yeah.
Yeah, and that to me kind of encompasses, like, it's not just about, just don't be grateful for the big things, it's the little things. It's everything, really.
If I remember, they were talking about looking at the clouds.
Yeah, you're just having a voice and being able to hear and the
face.
smell and the face and the trees and the ocean
and the connections.
Every day I drive to work and I'm like, God, it's so beautiful out. I mean, because I'm new to Arizona, it just amazes me how crisp it is, and the balloons are going up.
Yeah,
it's so cool. Hot air balloons, probably 90% of the time are lifting off, because I'm, at sunrise going, in the morning. It's awesome. And it's like that. It's a nice way to start your day.
It is.
When I was in California, I'd go to the beach every morning with a cup of coffee before work and just enjoy that moment. It was a time for me just to be me with myself and just enjoy that. Just be. I don't know what else to say, but be.
That's a good way to maybe end this, is by saying that when we're in gratitude, we're in the moment, we're present.
It feels good. You're in alignment.
Good. You're in alignment with everything in yourself, and that is the
It's a
best
peace-
feeling
yeah,
in the
it's a peaceful
world.
feeling.
It's very peaceful, and life is good.
Okay, I think that'll wrap it up for now, and we'll be back shortly, hopefully within the week. And if you like us, we do have Just Blah webpage that's just going to started. So if you are interested in seeing that, you can go to just-blah and find us at justblah.com. And we'll be on Facebook, so look for us there. And also, if you would also want to see what else Barbara does, go to barbhite.com, and you can find a lot of information there on a lot of different events, and it's a good way to get a hold of us. We would always invite questions, so if you have any, our email is, I believe, justblah@gmail.com. All right.
I would also, can I just
Sure.
really quickly bring up Meetup if you're in the Phoenix area, or if you're flying into the Phoenix area. I'm on Meetup. It's Beautiful Mess, the Women's Connection group, and Amour de Soi, which is my co-ed group. And we have tons of activities, groups, meditations, and we would love for you to come and join us. And Amour de Soi is AMORDESOI.com. Or Meetup, I'm sorry. But if you go to barbhite.com, and on each page you'll be able to find the Meetup link, and it'll just take you directly there, and you can sign up and have the calendar available to you. So I am so appreciative of this time, Faye, and with the audience, and I'm ready to rock this out and go have a grateful evening.
Yeah, and just so you know that we plan on putting out weekly podcasts from Just Blah. We plan on dropping them on Sundays. When we first start up, there'll be a few more than that, but just so you know what our schedule will be, and then we'll let you know where you can actually find those when we get those up and loaded.
Yeah.
Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of others, and peace out.
Peace out.